Hey, ewa salame, babak no papir, ewa salame, zingzalbim, ewa salame, hey.
Hi guys, my name is Indigo. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today we're going to be trying out the Madison Beer Collection from Morphe. We are jumping right into it. Please ignore my skin right now. I am kind of going through a little bit of a moment. I'm doing a lot of Halloween makeup that's taking a huge toll on my skin, and I'm also under the stress of moving right now. Finding houses is not easy. But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. Today we're going to be talking about the Madison Beer eyeshadow palette, which retails for $22, and the Madison Beer Collection Morphe brushes for $25. I have heard a lot of shit about this collaboration. A lot of people are not happy.
A lot of people will be scared here. A lot of people will be scared, and I'll name them.
But this was before the product even ever came out. So it just seems like Madison is living in people's heads rent-free. I don't really keep up with people like that, but I think she's really pretty and I don't see why this would be a bad palette. I actually haven't seen anything about it, so I'm going into it completely blind. But before we get started, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on post notifications, and let's get started. Okay, so I also got the hand mirror in the mail as well, so I mean, why not use it? I had no idea what this looks like either. Okay, work! I actually like the handle. It has like a grip to it. It's not sleek or slippery or anything. It's the exact same shape as the M-Resi one that I have over here. I think they're actually from the same manufacturer, probably. Yeah. That's a little sus. It's almost like they have the same people making them. So I really hope that this palette makes me look stunting. Like, I want to look like Madison Beer after this, and if I don't, I'm actually going to be pretty upset. So I'm going to do my base really quickly, but before I do that, I'm actually going to take a look at these eyeshadow brushes, see if we can use them on our face at any moment. And right off the bat, I can tell you that's going to be a hard no. However, these are the perfect sizes for eyes. They were not kidding. I really like the packaging on these. I think they're super chic and super cute. I don't think Morphe has ever tapped into this type of design, and I think it's very sleek and very modern. It's a very minimalistic slate gray with a nice, very like chromatic tip. I don't know if my camera picks this up, but it says Madison Beer here in really pretty writing. Here we have the little dense packing brush. We have this little more denser pencil brush type of shape. I don't really use these. We have this angled brush, probably for like carving out your brow or just doing like a very precise type of cut crease moment. Next we have this little blending brush, which I definitely see myself using, and these are hands down the best type of shape that I actually like for doing pretty much any type of eyeshadow on my eye. It just gives like that control and it just feels nice. I don't really know how to explain it. We have the same blending brush, but just a little bit bigger, probably for like a bigger area of your eye. And then lastly, this very tiny packing brush, which is actually the first one of these that I have in my collection. I don't think I've ever had something so tiny, which is always a nice thing because that means I can get even more detailed than I was before. The brushes are very lightweight. They feel like practically nothing. Some people really like to have those heavy type of brushes because they just feel like they have more control or just feels more luxurious. I don't really care, to be honest, as long as it does like what it needs to do. And more often than not, I just find myself using the lighter brushes because I don't know, the heavy ones just feel like a burden. I already have enough baggage. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and take a peek at the palette as well before we start off. So this is the box that you get when you first buy it. Once again, this is a very sleek gray matte type of feel to it. The package itself is pretty heavy. It has a nice weight to it. And the palette itself does not look much different from the actual box. And these are the colors that we're about to get. This is my first time seeing them, just like you guys. Okay. In the monitor, this looks very orange, but this is actually a very nude palette. This is actually one of the first palettes that I've ever gotten that are nude because I'm just a very colorful type of bitch. I never really lean towards these things. However, I have been leaning towards these colors recently and I have been wanting more neutral, simple colors. So this is very interesting for me. So as we all know here, I suck at swatches. I do not know how to swatch. It's my worst nightmare to do. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to spare you guys the embarrassment and the time skip. And I'm just going to read out the names. I'm going to point them out towards you. I'm going to try a little bit of them out and see how I feel about them. So on the top row, we have a White Rabbit, Stained Glass, Baby, Zero, and Marceline. In the second row, we have C-137, Zeppelin, Devil in a Dress, Pisces, Let's not even talk about that one. Banana? That's a very strange shade to call banana, but interesting. In the third row, we have Emotional Bruises, which same. I will be using that one because wow. Pixie, Fight Club, Prestige, and Jericho. I don't know how to pronounce that. Jericho? Jericho? Shiricha. And in the last row, we have Bambi, 3553, Cosmos, Life Support, which is something that I need to be on, and Rabbit Hole. A lot of people have been saying that this palette looks very basic and very simple. I actually really like the colors in these. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch some of the little metallic shades to see how they perform. They look nice on my finger. They swatched very well. I mean, yeah, this is what I talk about. I suck at these. Like, I can't do these. Off camera, they do look good. They do perform well. I'm gonna look at the matte shades as well. They're getting onto my finger. They don't look patchy, they don't look anything, and we're about to try them on our eyes, so don't worry, because swatches don't mean anything. It's about the performance on the eyes. You don't wear makeup on your hands or on your wrist. But one thing I will say is I am a little biased because I do find her very attractive, and I do think that she is really stunning, and I also know that she does wear these types of colors. She's not going to come out with something that's very weird, bright, and colorful. That's just simply not her. And this is very true to the artist, and I totally understand that a lot of people probably already have these colors on hand, but I don't. And this is my review. So we're gonna go ahead and try these out, and I will give you guys the final gist of this whole collection. So right off the bat, I can already tell you that I'm really happy that I can just use this palette and get away with it if the formulations are right. Here we have the lightest color, which is obviously way lighter than my skin tone. We have basically every single warm shade, and there's a couple of neutrals as well. And we also have a very important black shade, and that's just kind of what you need to smoke it out. We're gonna go ahead and try out the little brushes. I did try this one out while I was doing like my little contour on the inner eye and whatnot. It worked. That's all I can say. Nothing bad, nothing good either. It wasn't spectacular, but it did do its job. So I'm gonna go in with the bigger blending brush from this collection, and I'm going to go in with the shade. I'm gonna go ahead and try this one right here, just in case. I just kind of want to see how dark they're going to be. Okay, so this one's just like a tad bit darker than my skin tone. It is not patchy. It is very blendable. As you guys can see there, I'm slowly building it up, but it's not taking forever, and it's not patchy in the slightest. Let's see how it does on top of setting powder, because I would normally have a very hard time putting eyeshadows on that. Oh wow! That clinged on like a dream. For my skin tone, this is a very good shade to kind of start slowly darkening things when you want to take things slowly and just get all the blend that you want. After that, I'm gonna go ahead with the shade, this one. I don't know what it's called. Also, the brush doesn't feel gritty or a little too soft, because some brushes do suffer that. They feel just a little too soft and you feel like you can't get any like control. It's just like any other Morphe brush. I don't think I've ever actually experienced a Morphe brush that is bad, but I've also never experienced one that's amazing. So keep that in mind. Look at that blend. It is very present. I really enjoy this. It's blending out amazingly as well. It's also very true to color from what's inside of the pan as well. Ooh, look at that. I like that. I like how dark it also got. It is exactly the same shade that it is in the palette, and I can really appreciate that. So I'm gonna go in with the black shade, which I am very excited to try out, because once again, like I always say, the black says a lot about a palette. If the black is good, more often than not, the entire palette is good. So I'm gonna go ahead with that shade. I'm gonna use the very little skinny dense packing brush, which is new to me. I think it's very cute. I'm gonna go in very light at first, because sometimes blacks are just almost too pigmented. I can tell you it is definitely one of the more blacker shades that I've actually experienced. Sometimes black shades just don't really translate as black, and they kind of read more like this weird gray mucky color. But I think it's just patchy. You guys can see that right there. It's just not clinging on to this one area. And then after it does, it's kind of like after I've like blended the hell out of it, and it just doesn't, yeah. It's just not hitting this area. Like, it's getting rubbed off. I will say though, the black does get a little bit more bearable with this brush in itself. And it, oh, look at that. It actually does blend out. Okay, now that I'm using this brush, it's working like a dream. If you are going to use that shade, you're gonna have to use one of these little blending brushes, because anything else is just not gonna work in your favor. So now it's working just fine. However, I am going to still stand with what I said, because there are blacks that I can use with any brush out there and it's going to look amazing. So it's still one of their less impressive formulas, but hey, at least we got it to work. And then lastly, I'm going to put a shimmer shade in the center just to see how it can look. I'm already being very attracted to this shade right here for this eye look. I'm going to go ahead and use my fingers for that because glitters always work better with fingers, right? I'm just going to put that in the center. Oh, that did not even hesitate to appear. Work. Wow, a little goes such a long way with this one. However, this is a review and those were only a couple shades. So now I'm going to do a very colorful look with this other side, and I'm going to go ahead and dip into kind of like the orange shades over here since we just did the other ones, like the cooler shades. I'm going to go ahead and dip into this shade right here. It is just ever so slightly a little bit harder to work with than this eyeshadow, the other eyeshadow that I used. However, it's still pulling through and giving me that really nice effect that I do like. It requires a little bit more attention. Next, I'm going to go ahead and dip into the orange shade over here. I'm going to kind of darken things out on the outer corner. Ooh, that's pigmented. No complaints on that eyeshadow at all. Next, I'm going to go in with the darkest of all these little orange shades right here. It's kind of like a almost burnt orange, kind of like maroon color. I don't really know what color that would be. It's really pretty though, so I'm gonna go ahead and apply it. Ooh. And then I'm going to go ahead and use this little golden shade right here on the center of my eyelid. So just like it shows in the pan, this one's a little bit more on the metallic side. It's kind of more like a foil. I will say though, it's not as impressive as the other eye is. I'm not really a huge fan of this shade. That shade could have offered a little more. I don't really see myself using that one as much. However, it is true to the pan looking more at it. So it's not bad, it's just not my favorite. And then lastly, I'm just gonna go ahead and tap into the black eyeshadow on that one. However, you guys already know what this looks like, so I'm actually just gonna skip ahead to the end with my final thoughts. Alrighty guys, so these are the final makeup looks that I did with this eyeshadow palette. Let's start off with the brushes since those were the first ones that we actually saw. I am not mad at these brushes at all. I think they performed pretty well. I think the only one that I did not like is this one right here, which is like this pencil brush. I don't like pencil brushes at all. That's just kind of like a tip that I have in general. I'm just not a fan of those. So I guess I'm kind of biased against this. Wasn't my favorite. It did leave my eyeshadow a little patchy, and then when I did use the other eyeshadow, it was a little bit better. So I am going to give this one a little But for $22, you do get a decent amount of brushes, and I fully completed my makeup today with these brushes and these brushes alone. Yeah, I would totally buy these if I had the money for it and I did like Madison Beer, or even if I just like the packaging, because the packaging is really pretty on these. As for the eyeshadows, I like this palette. I actually really do. As you guys can see, I was able to get a couple different looks. This is a little bit more on like the extra side, and this one's a little bit more on the sultry side. If you are looking for more like sultry and like more experimental things, but you are somebody who likes that everyday look, this could be the palette for you. Sorry guys, this one was actually $25. This one's the one that's $22. For $22, you really can't go wrong. I will say that there are eyeshadow palettes that are cheaper than this with a very similar color story. So if you guys really do want these colors but you don't want to spend the money on these, there are other options. Did the palette do its job? Yes. Did the colors look good? Yes. Is the pricing alright? Yes. The design is clean and all the eyeshadows that I tried performed pretty well. None of them stung my eyes. I had no irritation at all. The only one that I was not like the biggest fan of was this black. It is workable. However, I have just noted that Morphe in particular actually has better eyeshadows in the Maddie Ziegler palette and I believe the James Charles palette as well. So I don't really know what happened there. However, this is still serviceable as you guys can see. So yeah, I don't really see why a lot of people were hating on this palette. So yeah, I would recommend this palette as well. I will definitely be using this on the days where I just want like a simple everyday makeup look. And I don't really want to use a couple different palettes. I just want a single palette. This is the one for me. I do not think that this palette deserves all the hate that it's been getting. When you put aside everything else and you just look at the palette itself and the colors that are presented to you and the way that they work, this palette is good. I definitely do think it has been getting bashed for absolutely no reason at all. Alrighty guys, that is it for this video. I hope you guys do like my new review type of format. I'm really trying to make these a lot more serviceable and a lot more helpful for you guys to kind of make decisions when you are buying stuff. Thank you for being patient with me. Obviously, I've only been doing this for a couple months. And as always, thank you so much for watching. If you guys like my art, if you guys like my energy, please like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on post notifications, and I will see you guys in the future. Bye-bye.